Hey lovies, welcome back. It's day 6 of our 12-day festival called the 12 Days of Yule. And today we're going to be talking about Eclipse Magick because today marks an annular eclipse in Capricorn. So here's my disclaimer. I am not an astrologer. I use astrological happenings, sort of like magical ingredients in spell work. So Chani Nicholas is one of my favorite astrologers, and we're going to put a link to her website in the description. And she refers to eclipses as pattern markers. I kind of like to think about them as little spark plugs that awaken and purify an area of earth life for us. Now, here is what I have to say about this. Purify. This is not an implication under any circumstances that you are unclean or tainted or damaged in any way. You can find your local fundamentalist for that kind of nonsense, but I am talking about alchemical purification. And this is the process of removing contaminants. So your soul is perfect. Earth life just gets messy buildup on our personalities. It's kind of like washing the windows, you know? The glass is always clear. It's just that the weather outside and the living inside get smarm sauce all over your windows. Go check out the one over your sink if you have any doubts about this. So magical purification is really like taking vinegar and water, spritz, 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 and clearing it away. Magical purification at eclipse time can take a lot of different forms. So I'm going to give you a few of them. Stick around to the end of the video so you catch them all. Now for the magic. I don't do any magic on eclipses to bring about things or to manifest things. I wouldn't do a money spell on an eclipse. I wouldn't do a spell to bring in new love or a new job. Maybe you'll do that tomorrow, but I just wouldn't do that today. But you do you. It's your magic. You do what you want. But this eclipse is the perfect time to purify or remove unwanted energies and compulsions, emotional abraders. You know, I don't like to use the word trigger, but some things just sort of get you going, right? Anything that results in self-sabotaging your best lived life, okay? Don't self-sabotage. We don't like it. So I want you to think about what is that thing that you always do when you're feeling a certain way, when you're feeling abraded, when you're feeling agitated. What is it that you do? You can use the power of the sun and the moon together to ask, what parts of my ego are getting in the way of my authenticity? And even more aligned with the Capricorn energy, you could ask, what are my personality responses to stress that mess up my resource management system? When I feel this, I do this. And that's the kind of thing that you're wanting to purify. Write them down. You can use little pieces of paper, like a different piece for each one that you want to leave behind in 2019. These are old notes from Sunday Morning Tea and Tarot because witches recycle. Or you can just make yourself a big old list. Okay, here's my list. Things I'm leaving behind in 2019. Doing things that cause me resentment. So saying yes when I want to say no. Being pulled out of my integrity by people pleasing, you know, because I want people to like me. And so sometimes, here's a good one. Giving too many fucks about what people think about me. overdoing it to the point of exhaustion. That's a big one. I want to leave that one here. The illusion that I'm alone, because I'm never alone. You know, my spirit guides, my light beings, my ancestors are always with me. Trying to fix people, micromanaging when I want to be leading, and competition. I just want to leave these behind. I want to put them away to be purified and transformed into something else. So I have my jar, and this needs to be a jar with a lid that you can bury in the earth and then dig up later. So the, spoiler alert, we're gonna bury this and dig it up later. And then I'm gonna take my little paper shredder. If you don't have a paper shredder, don't worry. Just like rip it all up into shreds. No big deal. But I'm going to use my paper shredder because I like it. Goodbye. Goodbye, old things that need purification. And then I'm going to get the little pieces of paper out. I'm going to make them into a little ball. And I'm gonna put them in the jar, okay? Now, look, I know it's cold and snowy and frozen in some of the places where you live, but sometimes being a witch is hard. So get your shovel out and dig a hole. If you don't have a shovel, you can use a spade. If you don't have a spade, you can use a spoon that you don't care very much about. It's not that bad. Go out and do it. But here's a little tip for urban settings, because it can be hard in an urban setting to bury something. So dedicate a container to banishing. So like a plant pot or a container of some sort like that. And fill it with dirt. My choices would be graveyard dirt or crossroads dirt. But potting soil will work if that's all you have access to. But you rural witches out there, if you are using the pot situation, the ground better be in a deep freeze, okay? And completely not diggable. Otherwise, it's just like sort of spitting in the face of gratitude for the land. Poof. Just saying, witchcraft takes actual dedication. And in general, whatever your geography, take your working seriously. That's the most potent ingredient in any spell, is how sincerely you take the work that you're doing. So, do your best. Half-assing might work under a Gemini new moon with great results. But Capricorn asks just a little bit more of us, okay? Part 2 to this working. You're gonna go outside, you're gonna dig a hole, and you're gonna bury your container. Here's a little tip. You might wanna mark the spot so that you can go back and dig it up, because sometimes I've forgotten to do that, and it's been a shit show. So I like to, before I put my container in the hole, I like to use some words that I learned from the work of Rebecca Campbell. She's an author and a light worker, and I'll link her book in the description. But she says, unbound, unbound, forever unbound. And I like to actually make a spiral counterclockwise and just say it. Unbound, unbound, forever unbound. Unbound, unbound, forever unbound. And I just keep repeating that until I really feel it. I really feel the click. And I put this in the hole and I cover it up. And I like to turn my back on it immediately. Just walk away from it. The earth is going to do her job with it. I don't have to worry about this anymore. But here's some things between when you bury it and when you dig it up that you can do to keep you headed in the right direction. Now, this is a hair receiver that was my grandmother's and was always on her nightstand. Some of you will have to Google hair receiver because you won't even know what that means. But I love this. And when I found it today, I found all these little messages that I had written for a ritual we did here at SpiritWings. And some of them were just so appropriate, like quit messing around, like it doesn't matter that much, you know? It's time to pay attention to your resources. Like I wrote these 2 years ago, but they were so appropriate. And I picked a few that I wanted to write little messages for now on the backup. So the first one says, you don't need to be mad about it anymore. And I wrote, when I feel resentful, I can write a shitty first draft. I won't talk about it or text anybody about it. I won't send an email, nothing like that. And I'm gonna just keep these, you know, on my altar in a sacred container and keep them in my remembrance. I can take them out and reread them whenever possible. This one says, that thing you've been wondering about, do it. And on the back I wrote, when I'm feeling insecure, I will move my body and do the thing. Just give you one more. I love you too much to let you keep sabotaging yourself. Isn't that appropriate for today's video? When I feel scared, I will call or text a truth teller. And I'm just gonna keep gathering these because I'm gonna dig up my container on January 21st. That's a lunar eclipse, the last in the series. So I'm gonna dig it up then. And here's a sneak peek. I'm gonna do a video on January 20th of digging up this spell. It'll give you the rest of the instructions, what to do with it after you dig it up. So that's my little magic for the day. Blessed eclipse to you. Remember that eclipses are sort of 6-month markers of time. We're gonna have these eclipses here, and then we're gonna have eclipses next summer. So think about what you've been doing over the last 6 months. Really give it some thought and think about what you want to purify from 2019. What are those behaviors, those compulsions that you want to get rid of? Let's commend them to the earth together. And then we will cultivate this freedom, this big, expansive container that's ready to receive new things, the new blessings, those manifestations that you want to work on tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the energy return and reciprocity, how things flow and how it goes. So if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell so you'll get notifications. Yuletide blessings, my loves.